Hi. Have you ever wondered what the most dangerous time and place to be alive in all of human history was? Was it during the Black Death, when plague wiped out half of Europe? Or maybe the trenches of World War I, with its brutal mechanized slaughter? While those were undoubtedly terrifying, historical records and scientific evidence point to a few specific periods that were even more catastrophic, moments when the world truly felt like it was ending. So, buckle up as we journey back to the absolute worst times to have ever existed. Let us start with a year that many historians and climatologists call the single worst year to be alive. 536 AD. Imagine waking up one morning to find the sun has gone dim, not just for a day, but for an entire year and a half. A mysterious thick fog, likely from a massive volcanic eruption in the northern hemisphere, blanketed Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. The sun was described as being as faint as the moon, casting the world into a prolonged, chilling twilight. This wasn't just a gloomy aesthetic. The lack of sunlight caused temperatures to plummet, initiating the coldest decade in over 2,000 years. Summer temperatures in 536 dropped by as much as 2.5 degrees Celsius. Think about that, a global cold snap that made summer feel like a grim, sunless winter. The Irish Chronicles record a failure of bread from the year 536. In China, snow fell in the middle of summer. Across the globe, crops failed catastrophically. The lack of food led to widespread, desperate famine. People were starving to death on a scale that's hard to comprehend. The Byzantine historian Procopius wrote, "For the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon, during this whole year." T described a world without seasons, where people were constantly bewildered and fearful, believing the world was in its final days. It was a time of immense suffering, starvation, and social collapse, all triggered by a natural disaster that plunged the known world into darkness. Now, let us fast forward about 1,000 years and cross the Atlantic to the Americas in the 16th century. For the indigenous peoples of the New World, the arrival of Europeans wasn't the dawn of a new era. It was the beginning of an apocalypse. This period is often referred to as the Great Dying. While the violence of the conquests was brutal, the most effective weapon the Europeans brought was something they couldn't even see: disease. The populations of North and South America had been geographically isolated for thousands of years. This meant they had no immunity to the diseases that had been circulating in Europe, Asia, and Africa for centuries. When explorers and settlers arrived, they brought with them a deadly cocktail of pathogens: smallpox, measles, influenza, typhus, and more. For the native peoples, these were not common illnesses. They were unstoppable plagues. The impact was catastrophic and swift. Smallpox was particularly devastating. It swept through communities, killing with horrifying efficiency. Entire villages and cities were wiped out. In what is now Mexico, the population of the Aztec Empire plummeted from an estimated 25 million to just over 1 million in less than a century. 2. The same tragedy unfolded across the continents. It's estimated that up to 90% of the indigenous population of the Americas died from disease. This wasn't just a population decline, it was the collapse of entire civilizations. Languages, cultures, and knowledge built up over millennia vanished in the space of a few generations. Imagine living through a time when 9 out of every 10 people you know, your family, your friends, your leaders, die from a mysterious and terrifying sickness. It's a scale of death that is almost impossible for us to grasp today, making it one of the most lethal periods in human history for an entire hemisphere. Let's move to 19th century China, a time and place that saw the single deadliest conflict of the entire century, dwarfing even the American Civil War. This was the Taiping Rebellion, a massive civil war that raged from 1850 to 1864. This wasn't just a war, it was a total societal upheaval, fueled by a unique and fervent ideology. The rebellion was led by a man named Hong Xiuqi. After failing his civil service exams multiple times, he had a series of visions, which he interpreted to mean that he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ, sent to earth to establish a heavenly kingdom of great peace, or Taiping Tianguo. His mission was to overthrow the ruling Qing dynasty and create a new radical society. His movement preached a unique form of Christianity mixed with social reforms like the abolition of private property and the equality of men and women. This message resonated with millions of peasants who were suffering from famine, natural disasters, and government corruption. Hong's followers grew into a massive, disciplined army that swept across southern China, capturing the major city of Nanjing and making it their capital. What followed was 14 years of brutal, all-encompassing warfare. The conflict was unbelievably destructive. Both the Taiping rebels and the Qing imperial forces committed horrific atrocities. Cities were besieged and starved into submission. Armies numbering in the hundreds of thousands clashed in massive battles. But the death toll wasn't just from combat. The war completely disrupted agriculture, leading to widespread famine that killed millions. Disease also ran rampant in the war-torn countryside and crowded cities. When the rebellion was finally crushed in 1864, the cost was staggering. Historians estimate that somewhere between 20 and 30 million people died, with some estimates going even higher. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire death toll of World War I, for all nations combined. The Taiping Rebellion was a perfect storm of ideological fanaticism, political instability, and total war, creating one of the bloodiest and most dangerous environments in human history. For anyone living in southern China during this period, life was a constant struggle for survival, amidst unimaginable violence and starvation. So, from the sunless famine of 536 AD to the devastating plagues of the 16th century Americas, the apocalyptic war of the Taiping Rebellion, history shows us times when the world was a truly terrifying place to be. These periods were a deadly mix of natural disaster, disease, and human-made conflict, pushing societies to the absolute brink of collapse. It's a sobering reminder of how fragile our own world can be, and makes you appreciate the relative peace and stability we often take for granted. Which of these times do you think was the absolute worst? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this journey through history's darkest moments fascinating, be sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.